So here's our last little lesson for this chapter. We're going to animate this feather here. And I've checked my feather rig. Everything's great. Now I'm going to make a quick material for it so it's not just dirty gray. So I'm going to make a Lambert. We'll double click on this Lambert. Get that out of the way. Let's call this feather underscore matte. And we'll change the color to something like a light brown, just so we can see the feather a little bit easier. And then I'm going to go to my outliner, go all the way down my hierarchy and select my feather. I'll right click on the material I want to it, assign selection. So now my feather is nice and brown. And let's start out by getting the timing of our arcs as it falls set up. Alright, so let me get rid of that attribute editor. I'm going to go to my front view here, and on frame 1 I'm going to position it where I want it to start falling. So we'll put it right up there maybe. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to keyframe there, that right there. Now I just want it to go whirl, 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 back and forth, nice and slow, a little bit of finesse, right? So let's give it plenty of space. So I want it to go from here to here, keyframe. I'll do it in intervals of 20, I guess, 20 keyframes. And then I'll have it settle at frame 80 or so. Alright, so let's check the timing of this right now. Alright, that looks pretty good so far. The timing is what we're really looking at right now. We're looking to see if this feather falls at the right time, not too fast, not too crazy. And it seems to be doing pretty good. But something's off, right? I've never seen a feather do this before. We're going to add a little bit of finesse to it, okay? We're going to add a few extra keyframes in between here. Because remember when I was doing my thing, I want it to go like this, right? So it starts here and ends up there. So kind of right here, I want in between, I want the feather to kind of dip down a little bit. Maybe closer to right there. So if we maybe position our keyframe kind of towards this side of it a little bit. See how I give it that nice little dip, then it goes back up a little bit. And I can even go in here and make it go up a little bit more. I'll keyframe that. So it goes down then up a little bit. Instead of going straight to the next one, let's do the same thing. Let's make it go down a little bit. So we're going, it goes down a little bit and comes back up. And then it just needs a slow in and slow out here, but let's just worry about that in a second. I'll get to right here. I'll do the same thing. Really subtle this time because it's about to land. And then here it lands. And you know what? Let's give it a little bit of a slide as after it lands, as feathers or leaves tend to do after they land. Okay, that's looking pretty good. There's one part about this that's bugging me though. And it's right there. When it goes back forth right here, it goes almost too fast there. So maybe my graph editor can help me fix the slow ins and slow outs of this. Alright, so I'm going to go into my animation editor's graph editor, and we're going to look at, what is it, translate Y and X. Alright, cool. Let's go and see if we can on the time slider and find the place where I need it to get. I think it's around frame 40 where it messes up a little bit. It gets a little too fast. So let's see what the graph editor says around frame 40 here. Alright, so let's play with this curve a little bit. I want to grab the handles, and I'm just want to pull it up a little bit. see what happens there now. I kind of gave it a little bit of a, see how it anticipates and goes up a little bit. I kind of like that little finesse I gave to it. So let's do the same thing here maybe. That was the wrong way to pull that. Let's see what happens after I pull that handle. It kind of still has that hesitation. Let me pull up my graph handle. Instead of doing that, maybe let's do this. Nope. Incorrect as well. Well, let's keep this curve as smooth as possible. We might have to add an extra keyframe here to make this transition. See? They're just too slow. Or it's just too fast. It needs to kind of hang right here for a second. So here's a little trick that I've used to get my slow ins and slow outs working for us. So at keyframe 20, we have my feather right here hanging and then changing direction. Well, we need to really exaggerate this air time, this hang time right here. So what I like to do is I like to maybe skip a frame or two forward. So I'm at frame 20, I go 1, 2, frame 22, and then I middle mouse click and drag maybe 2 more frames and then keyframe it again. And what this will do is it'll kind of create this little area right here where it kind of just hangs a little bit and then it goes. So let's see what happens. Alright, goes. It kind of creates this nice subtle little hang time right here. So it goes hang times and then goes, and then maybe the wind catches it right here. And then we're going to do the same thing here. At frame 40, it starts to change position a little bit. So I'm going to step 1, 2, and then I'm going to skip a little bit more right there. So I can create a little gap of hang time right here. And then it goes. Because we want to create a slow in and slow out. And let's just do that technique for each change of direction. So I haven't done it for this one. So at frame 60 here, it's about to change direction again. So I'm going to click 2 frames forward so it moves just a little bit. And then I want to stretch out this frame 62 and middle mouse click and drag it. And middle mouse and click drag to 64 and then make the keyframe there. That'll stretch out this time right here. And then it'll go and hit the ground. So let's watch now what happens. So go So I've created like these nice slow in and slow outs doing this method. And it should be pretty good. And what we can do is we can maybe add a sudden gust of wind at some point, like it gets thrown really fast right here maybe. Maybe some wind comes in and really makes that go fast. So how do we make things fast? We shorten the frames, right? So let's go to my dope sheet. Window Animation Editor's dope sheet. And let's look and see where on the outliner we are here. So between here and here on my dope sheet, I want it to be really fast. So I want to shorten the distance between these time frames. So I left click and drag and pull it back a few frames. So maybe that'll add a little bit of a, there we go. Wind catches it. There we go. And maybe I can exaggerate when it settles down. Maybe I can exaggerate. It maybe takes a little bit longer to do that last little back and forth right there. So adding variety like this is really nice. So I've determined that I want it to go slower. I want the wind to come right here, and then I want it to kind of go slower back to the left. So I can see that on my timesheet. I'm going to space it out, and maybe we'll get a nice little variation here. wind, slow, and then there we go, settles. And I'm looking at it, and I think I want some more hang time right here. I want it to kind of chill out a little bit more. So I'm just going to grab this keyframe and go to my dope sheet. And I'm going to increase the distance between these two keyframes right here. And then in between these two keyframes, that's when I'm having my hang time in the air. Mm, 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 mm. Maybe I want to add a little bit more movement here. Let's change it up a little bit. I think it was hanging too still into the air. There we go. Alright, so let's look at it from a different perspective. I want to have a little bit of extra time left so I can see the leaf on the ground. There's one thing I want to tweak as well. I like this, I like that, but I don't think it arcs enough when it goes on this leg of the journey. It kind of just goes to that position there. So, I'm going to kind of pull it down just a little bit more here. See what that does. So it goes down. I think this keyframe right here on 59 is making it a little bit jerky, so I'm going to delete it. There we go. And you know what? I think it goes a little too fast right here. I want to delete this whole little downward arc, and right now I'm just having it go straight from point to point. So I'm going to kind of start over and readjust how this goes down a little bit. Wow, so it really needs to dip. You know what? And I want to increase the time it takes for it to settle as well. So let's look at it again. So as I'm animating, nice wind, settles, and then I think it falls down to the ground a little bit too fast again. So let's determine where it falls, and it's these two. So I'm going to increase the time it takes on the dope sheet. I think that's a little too slow, so I want to pull it back a frame or two. And I'm still not happy about that little dip right there. Let me delete it and try one more time. Mike, quit hanging up, please. There we go. In theory, that should be okay. You know, I might raise it up at the change of direction there. Definitely too slow at the end now. So let me tweak those again. Come on, Maya, don't freeze up. Okay, let me just tweak them back a little bit again. A lot of tweaking. Okay. There we go. I'm pretty happy about this translation now. So I like it to be elegant, and then it gets a little jerky there because of the wind, and then it just settles down. So let's look at my rotation now. Shouldn't be too hard to do the rotation on this. We're just going to have it rock back and forth like a little leaf would. So I'm going to start out at a weird angle here. So as it travels to the right, boom, and we can always see where we change direction. So at this point right here, my leaf should kind of tip up like that. It's just swooping. And then at this point, Maybe change it up just a little bit more. Pull it back again, rotate it, add a little bit of randomness to it. Get it rocking back and forth really nicely until it just finally settles to the ground. And ends up kind of like this, a little flat. Alright, so let's look and see what we got. Alright, I need to hide these handles. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select go to my outliner here. That's my hypershade. There's my graph editor. There's my dope sheet. So I'm going to go to my outliner actually. And I'm going to grab my feather right there. And here's a nice little box you can hit. If we click the little green box right there, we can see nothing but the feather. Okay. Looks more like a leaf. We'll call it a leaf. I don't know. Feather or leaf. maybe maybe we can do something cool and maybe make it do a double spin right here or something. I don't know. Something that the wind would do. That does not look good. Maybe we just need to do this. Delete that keyframe before it. And now we have the leaf. Alright, so it's doing a flip back. It's because we need to go back and adjust the rotation on the other ones here. So that's no problem. Actually, I don't like that. I want to make it do a flip this way. Okay. There we go. I'm going to delete these last few keyframes because you see it whenever I added that flip, it flips back. And then since I had these pre-existing keyframes right here, it goes back to the same rotation it was over here, and it makes it look like the leaves doing another backflip there. So what we need to do is we can either use some math and increase that by 360, or we can just kind of start over here. Okay. There we go. Starting over a little bit. And there we go. Nice. It could probably use a little bit more work and a little bit more tweaking. But like I said, the workflow is sound. With a little bit more work and your own tweaking, you can get the leaf or the feather doing something really crazy. Maybe doing like a whole little spin and then coming back. It's up to you, like a double loop-de-loop or something. But the slow in and slow out is the main, and the timing are the main keys of this lesson right here. So it's a really good chance to work on the slow in and slow out. So just work on your own feather and let me see what you get. Remember, slow in, slow out. Getting the timing right is very important. Using those curves to see what's going on really helps, and the dope sheet's always there for your timing. So I'm anxious to see what everybody produces, and I can't wait for you guys to turn them in. Thanks.